Toxic relationships are usually referred to as relationships in which we experience heavy negative emotions. Guilt, shame, fear, anxiety, resentment, a sense of humiliation, and other toxic emotions. In toxic relationships, internal support's destroyed, psychological support's erased, personal boundaries blurred, self-esteem and self-confidence diminished. This could be caused by various manipulations, provocations, devaluation, emotional roller coasters, gaslighting, or other techniques of psychological abuse. All of this can be encapsulated and expressed through jokes, toxic concern, good intentions, or for instance, wise sayings and proverbs. This can be presented, for example, from the perspective of an innocent victim, or on the contrary, an aggressive victim. Such an impact can be invisible, not obvious, and unprovable. A person who deliberately destroys your life for a long time can always raise their hands and say, "But I love you, I want what's best for you, I care about you, I wish you well," and you just make things up again. You're just a hysterical person, or maybe you're just a tyrant, an abuser, a narcissist, and a psychopath. You really need therapy, maybe you should take some pills, and so on. These could be marital relationships, they could be relationships between parents and children, friendly, work-related, partnership, any other relationships. The main thing is relationships where you feel bad. These are relationships that destroy your personality. These are relationships that create dependency, helplessness, drive you crazy, and overall harm your mental health. Not everything that you don't like is toxicity. Not everything that you can't handle is manipulation. Not everyone you feel guilt, shame, and resentment towards is a narcissist, abuser, and psychopath. So let's clarify the terms. Let's start from the very beginning. Any mentally healthy person requires warm, trusting, absorbing relationships, love, care, support, and attention in order to thrive and flourish in their lives. These are typical psychological needs of any healthy individual. Without healthy relationships, we feel bad, lonely, and experience anxiety. Moving on. Warm, healthy, supportive, nourishing relationships built on emotional closeness, respect, dialogue, support, and healthy attachment. Toxic, destructive, dependent, or codependent relationships are formed based on manipulations. The gradual and subtle creation of dependence, helplessness, and the poisoning of a person with toxic emotions such as shame, guilt, anxiety, and other detrimental feelings. In healthy functional relationships, you become healthier, happier, and wealthier. In a healthy relationship, you can freely express all your emotions and feelings. You take care of yourself, others, and the world. You have the ability to share your secrets and receive care and support from others. In toxic, dysfunctional relationships, you become weaker, poorer, and unhappier. You begin to treat yourself in a more negative manner. You cease adequately protecting your personal boundaries, fulfilling your needs, and simply existing in your life. Toxic relationships develop slowly over time, often going unnoticed, similar to the gradual damage toxic chemicals can cause to one's health. From the outside, all of this may seem right, good, and beautiful, but it just worsens things for you. It's like radiation, you can't see it, but it kills you. For example, if you immediately recognize the threat, if you see the destructive impact, you'll be able to react accordingly. For instance, to resist or to summon assistance, or to sever the connection, or to provide feedback of inferior quality. If someone clearly, openly, and blatantly insults, devalues, humiliates, or provokes you, chances are you won't stay in a relationship with that person. Most likely, you'll end up having a falling out and won't be talking to them anymore. It's like the story with a boiled frog here. If you throw a frog into hot water immediately, it will become all steamed up and jump out right away. However, if you toss it into frigid water and gradually increase the temperature, it will reach boiling point without even realizing it. That is why the most sickening, most destructive, toxic, dependent relationships generally begin with the most pleasant honeymoon stage, with admiration, with inspiration, with deep recruitment, with idealization. And once the victim is already on the hook, the process of slow and gradual heating begins to unfold. Evaluation, devaluation, comparison, embarrassment, accusation, shifting blame or assigning blame, causing alarm, dependence, helplessness, and feelings of being overwhelmed and disempowered. Sneakily, slowly but surely, 1 degree at a time, so the victim doesn't catch on. First, you're perfect, you're the one, you're better than everyone else. I've been searching for someone like you my whole life. We have a karmic connection, you and I. We were made for one another. And then, over time, gradually, this ensemble will be more suitable for you. However, you appeared significantly more attractive and appealing yesterday. Perhaps you should consider losing weight for summer. However, Vasya and Petya are earning more money. And their automobile is cooler, but let me inform you, one of my acquaintances has a way better figure than you do. And you know what? My former partner never experienced headaches. Or, for instance, if we had not met, I would probably be chilling in the Maldives right now. Or, here's the thing, all of my previous ones like one were money-grubbing bitches. Thank God you're not like that. And so on. Little by little, 1 degree at a time, 1 millimeter at a time, your boundaries are being eroded. You are poisoning yourself with thoughts that you do not meet certain criteria, that you are already guilty, that you are already responsible for other people's feelings, that you have to compensate for losses and time spent on you, that you have to deserve attention, that you should be grateful to fate, that you have such a chance to be with such an exceptional person, and that you must recognize the value of this opportunity. In the event that you make a mistake or become inconvenient or bad, they will promptly discard you in the trash, where you will perish beneath the fence, experiencing suffering and loneliness. If you ever dare to display dissatisfaction or, God forbid, protect your personal boundaries, it will promptly be utilized in opposition to you. For instance, through the utilization of shame or unfavorable interpretations. How can you possibly be so heartless? How can you be such a self-centered jerk? Why do you always think only about your own needs and desires? You're a total tyrant, abuser, narcissist, psychopath, manipulator, and just an overall toxic person. I am doing my utmost for you, you know. This is for your own benefit. And this is your way of showing appreciation after all the things I have done for you. Oh, I am just removing the dust from you. I transport you in my arms, you know. Well, yes, bruises remain, but that is simply due to love. What do you mean you're not happy? You should be grateful. What do you mean you're not feeling well? You have to be happy. What do you mean you are getting mad? Are not you ashamed to get angry? The mean ones get angry, the bad ones get angry. It's bad to get angry. Here, primarily, shame is used, meaning you're not the way you should be. Here we have assessment, depreciation, and comparison. Second, allegation. Third, so you are to blame, you made a mistake, you have got to apologize and make it right. Here they are just shifting the blame, so because of you, I'm suffering. Or, if it weren't for you, I would have been happy. Third, causing a commotion. For instance, I will simply leave you behind and flee with Yakim to Gagra. I'll divorce you, take the kids, and seize all the assets. Here is where loneliness and isolation are created. Who requires you or who requires you? Yes, everybody is laughing at you. The fourth one is similar to an emotional roller coaster. It's like a roller coaster, up, down, hot, cold, close, far, 24/7 together, not for 2 weeks sometimes. Sometimes you're perfect, sometimes you're worthless, sometimes I'm nobody without you, sometimes you're nobody without me, found you in the trash. Oh, and here's the fifth thing. This is our favorite gaslighting. Oh, you just imagined it all, you made it all up again. Why are you making a fuss over nothing again? And you're just a paranoid, schizophrenic, and hysterical person. So, the primary pattern in toxic codependent relationships. You have to be in a state of shame, rely on alcohol, experience dependency, live in fear, and endure solitude in order to be predictable and easy to exploit by others who take advantage of your vulnerabilities. So pay attention to the signs that follow. First and foremost, it is the honeymoon phase, characterized by love bombing and idealization. Ultimately, it is a form of deep recruitment. The second factor is gradualness, involving the slow heating and gradual erasing of boundaries over time. The third one is a prohibition on defending personal boundaries. You are unable to say no, otherwise you are considered selfish. You should be ashamed if you defend personal boundaries. The fourth one is a ban on showing emotions. So, in your relationship, there exist certain negative, bad, forbidden emotions that need to be suppressed, that need to be halted and not allowed to surface. So, aren't you ashamed of your emotions? Our relationship is suffering and being ruined because of your emotions. I endure the consequences of your emotions. Fifth, there is no dialogue or conversation. You are unable to discuss problems. There exist taboo, forbidden topics that cannot be talked about. You gotta shut up and deal with it. Number 6, This is a toxic emotional poisoning. Toxic wine, toxic shame, toxic anxiety, and other toxic emotions don't get cleared up, processed, or fulfill their purpose of being cleared up, processed, or fulfilling their purpose. They simply mess with your mind and distort your perception. And the seventh one, gaslighting, emotional roller coasters, schizophrenogenic patterns, withholding, and other techniques of psychological violence that make you even more dependent and helpless. If you're swallowing all this, then you're basically signing off on the fact that you're okay with being treated like that you can be taken advantage of. Since the poisoning occurs slowly and gradually, these concessions appear to be insignificant, non-critical matters until it is already too late. Until the water in the pot comes to a boil, and there's no turning back for this process. They will not allow you to reclaim your rights and personal boundaries. And you do not have the privilege to treat your partner in the same manner that he treats you. The little arrow won't turn, you don't understand. That's something else. Of course, if you had read the entire rider right away, if you had known where you were being invited, most likely you would have politely declined. But that is not certain. What could be the reasons for such a relationship? The initial possibility is narcissistic, antisocial, sadistic, hysterical, and other inclinations of one or both partners. These can be personality traits, they can be accentuations, and they can even be personality disorders. In all of these scenarios, an individual simply cannot relate to their partner in any other manner. In his perspective, the sole method to maintain proximity with another individual is via manipulation, dependency, and psychological violence. And all this closeness, sincerity, trust, it's all unreliable, it's all risky, dangerous. And all of this is for weaklings and those who are not successful. The second choice is upbringing and parental situations. So like the way my parents' relationship was and the way they treated me, that is what shapes my programs, scripts, strategies, and roles. What are relationships? What should they be like? What role should I have in these relationships? And so on. The third option is injuries, hypersensitivity, anxious attachment style, tendency towards dependent behavior, and other neurosis. This is a previous traumatic and emotional experience that rendered the individual more susceptible and vulnerable to manipulation and psychological violence. These are the unloved, undercooked, abandoned children, for whom relationships become a precious commodity, for whom even the thought of losing a relationship is unbearable. In this context, on the other hand, there are instances when, let's say, you perceive your partner as a parent, and you yourself find yourself in the position of a little dependent child. In this case, you'll subconsciously be projecting all your resentments, accusations, grievances, irritations, and other unresolved emotions onto each other. And fourthly, it's the lack of dialogue in relationships and a low level of emotional intelligence. Even two happy, healthy, vibrant, stable individuals can transform their relationship into a state of torment if they fail to engage in simple communication with one another. If they do not understand that they experience what is happening to them, what is happening to their partner, and what to do about it. Relationships are about being close to another person, not about extracting resources from them. And healthy, nourishing, functional relationships, it's the skill of being with another person in a way that makes both of you happier, healthier, and wealthier. You all may have various arguments, conflicts, misunderstandings, grievances, hurt feelings, and other intense emotions. Other negative emotions, it's all good, but if you talk about all this and live together, then your relationship only gets stronger, becomes an even greater support and resource for you. But if you don't speak up and live through all of this, if you tolerate and stay silent, then you accumulate all of these grievances, claims, and accusations within yourself until your relationship becomes unbearable. If by that time you have children, if you have already grown up with financial, property, legal, and other obligations, then your relationship from being a resource transforms into demanding and laborious work. So pay attention to the following aspects in your relationships. First things first, roles. What are your relationship like? Are these the relationships between two grown adults? Or is it the relationship between a child and a parent? Or boss and subordinate? The second thing is boundaries. How much do you see and respect each other's boundaries? Or are your relationships built on crossing boundaries and breaking agreements? 3. Emotions. Do you possess the capability in your relationship to live and express all of the emotions that arise and manifest within your being? Do you possess any chronic, avoided, or suppressed emotions? Expressing and experiencing emotions freely assists us in connecting with others, while upholding our personal boundaries and showing respect for the boundaries of others. 4. Dialogue or communication. Can you honestly and openly engage in meaningful conversation with each other in your relationship? Are you able to hear one another? Or is manipulation the primary means by which you interact with each other? And the 5th, that's responsibility. Ain't there any clear bias and obvious asymmetry in your relationship in terms of rights and responsibilities? Roles, boundaries, emotions, dialogue, communication, and the responsibility of individuals. Positive news. If you are able to identify manipulations promptly, if you can recognize and observe the methods of psychological violence, maintain resilience, and respond appropriately, you have the potential to recover from toxic relationships.